Well, thank you very much for allowing me into your world, everybody that's here. It's been absolutely fascinating for me. And I came along tonight and I didn't know really what to sort of expect of the crowd of people that were going to be here or the crowd of people that were going to be actually talking. And I've learnt a lot, and I didn't know whether I had anything to offer, but I suppose, hopefully, in a way I have. And hopefully I'm going to tell you a story, and the story will potentially talk to you as investors, because I need some investors. I need some people that will invest time, effort, and potentially money. But I'm going to press the Mac from here, because João had a problem with it, so I'm going to stand quite close to it. So today's goal for me is to inspire you with my story. And it's nothing like any of the stories of the people that have got amazing stories with their businesses. This is me and my world. Now, my world in Cardiff started 27 years ago. That's me. I actually had hair a long time ago now. And I played, as I mentioned before, for the Cardiff Devils. And we won trophies. And I like winning. So that's my thing, okay? I really like winning. So, ice hockey. This guy here was my best friend. This is Gary Moose Clunan, called Moose because he was absolutely gargantuan. He was a Falstaffian giant. I love that word. Big lad, and he was my best mate. And I was his best man at his wedding, and I'm going to tell you more about him as we go along. So, next slide. These are my two daughters, many years ago, Tiffany and Chloe. This is them now. They've grown up a little bit. The blonde Tiffany wanted to be an actress, so we send her to Howells, and she has a great education. She comes out with A's, and I'm like, yes, we're going to have the first person in my working-class family to ever go to university. What does she want to do? She wants to be an actress. Oh, my God. So she wants to be an actress, so she decides she wants to go to Disney in Paris, and she goes off to Disney in Paris, and she's Cruella de Vil, and she did a great time. She's lived in Paris, she's lived all around the world, and she's living in Covent Garden as an actress now, and she's doing pretty good. However, what she did was she influenced my younger daughter, Chloe, and she left a hole in our family life, because there's four of us, and we're quite a tight-knit family. So Chloe said to me, Dad, I want to do something to replace Tiffany going off to Paris. So she said, I want to climb Kilimanjaro. So I'm like, great, fantastic. So I researched Kilimanjaro, and at the time, Chloe was 15, and you can't climb Kilimanjaro if you're 15. You need a guardian. So step forward me, who's never climbed a mountain in my life or done anything since I retired from playing ice hockey. So we went up to Kili, had a fantastic time, and as a parent, she's now an amazing woman with this calling card that when she was 15, she can say, I climbed Kilimanjaro. So it's kind of like a cool thing, really. So we did really well, and I loved it, and I kind of fell in love with mountains as well. So whilst Chloe carried on her education, I went over to Russia, went over to Alaska, went over to a few other places and climbed a few mountains. Kind of fell in love with mountains and thought, this is actually okay, I'm not that bad at it. So I went out, this is a picture from Nepal on a mountain called Manaslu. And you can see that I've got oxygen on there, and that's because this mountain is 8,163 meters, which is in the death zone. And I managed to summit it, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I absolutely loved it. So by achieving this peak and getting the summit and feeling that I could use oxygen and I was strong enough, I felt I was in the right place to attempt Mount Everest. So that was my next goal. So I went over to Everest in 2014, and I went over with my dream to try to see if I could summit Mount Everest. Unfortunately, there was a huge accident with 16 Sherpa were killed. So on Good Friday in 2014, I was on another peak, acclimatizing, and we got the news, and I saw our guides huddling outside a tent at the top of this mountain, and I could tell something was wrong. And lo and behold, it became obvious that there had actually been an accident, and there had been 16 Sherpa killed. And effectively, that was the end of our trip because the mountain was closed, and out of respect for the Sherpa and their family, we decided that nobody would actually climb the mountain that year. So I came home. A lot of my friends were very depressed and very upset about losing the money that they'd invested and the time and the effort and stuff. But I was just turning 50, So I kind of thought, well, I'm going to Everest. I really need to make a bit of a go of this and see if I can raise some money for charity. So I'd no previous experience with charity or fundraising, but I decided that what I would do, because I was 50, I would try to raise £50,000 for Teenage Cancer Trust, which was a huge ask, but fortunately we actually managed it, and we actually raised just over 50,000 before I went to Everest, which was a relief. And then when we came back, we did a mountain art exhibition at the Hilton close by here, and we actually topped out at just over £60,000. So I was very pleased with that and very proud of it, and we kind of connected with some people along the Teenage Cancer Trust journey. And on the elevation evening, we had a young lady called Emily, and Emily was 16 with cancer, and she came along to our black tie-do, and she spoke, and she talked about cancer as a child and how she'd coped, and she was amazing. So having come back from Everest and achieved the success of getting the 60K, I kind of thought, you know what, it woke something up in me. It made me think that I wanted to help other people, and I'd sort of hit 50, and I'm doing okay in life, and I've got a great family. I just want to kind of help people. Sounds kind of cheesy, but I really do. So I decided that I had a chat with some friends about we'd create a non-profit. I've got a business that runs successfully, but we'll create a non-profit, and we can do some really cool stuff, a variety of things. So we decided that what we would name it would be Big Moose, because my buddy, Big Moose, literally 10 years ago, this March the 1st, passed away with cancer. And seeing my buddy, my best friend, dying of cancer, he turned from being a moose that was a strong hockey player there to this shell of a man. And I actually was fortunate enough to actually say goodbye to him as he was on his deathbed, and it affected me a lot. So I kind of thought, you know what, I want to headline this non-profit, and I want to have a story, because I think stories are really important. So I named our non-profit Big Moose, and we've got no agenda. What we want to do is we just want to make the world a bit of a better place, and I do specifically, before I die, I want to make the world a better place than when I came into it. So we've done a lot of different things. This is a friend of mine, Anthony Lloyd, who we started working with some homeless people locally. And we started doing lots of different things with the homeless people. But one of the things we did was I just do stuff. And I just was coming home one night from a night out, and I was really cold. And I was thinking, the homeless people that we've been helping feed and doing stuff at the back of Marks and Spencer here in Cardiff are going to be absolutely freezing. So I just thought, you know what, we've got quite a good social media presence. I'm just going to put a shout out and say, listen, we need some warm clothing to help our homeless people in Cardiff. So we put a shout out, and we called it Grab Your Coat. I'm a Cockney boy, grab your coat. So we got this Grab Your Coat campaign. We got lots of stuff being brought to us. And Anthony works for Cotswold Outdoor. And he said to me, listen, why don't you use us as a place that you can actually deposit warm clothing. So we encourage the general public to do that. And out of that, I kind of there was a little bit of business acumen in it as well, because from a CSR perspective, the people that work for Cotswold embraced the fact that their company was actually collecting warm clothes to be distributed to homeless people, which I think is pretty cool. So they got some good CSR. The general public thought it was a great idea and really bought into it, which was also super cool. But then also there was a commercial angle where if you took in your warm coat that you were going to donate to the homeless people, there's a potential that you could actually buy something in store. So it was very much a win-win. They've now been doing this for us for the last couple of years, and they do it in 8 stores across the West, which is pretty cool. We also did it this year with Peter Allen, the estate agents, who've done a similar project. So it's going quite cool. So this is another thing that I introduced with the homeless people that we go down to. I'd seen it in America. I plagiarized the idea. There's a guy called Mark Bustos in America who goes around and cuts homeless people's hair, shaves their beards, the guys, and gives the ladies haircuts. So I introduced bringing a couple of hairdressers into the mix. And if you can't really see it very well here, but this guy at the top looks like a scared rabbit. I don't know if you can actually notice it. It's not a very good picture. But at the bottom, he almost looks like George Clooney-esque. He's kind of like, you can see, he just seems a happier guy. So we introduced haircuts and stuff to the gig as well, which worked really well, all under the Big Moose skies, really. So then we decided there was a lot of food waste. We became aware of that. So we've established a relationship with Greggs. We collect Greggs food and we distribute it as well. And we also now go to Morrison's. This is Mo and Rob, who are lovely chaps down at Newport Road, Morrison's. And this is just one pickup of waste food, which would actually go in the bin. So we take it and we give it to people and make a bit of a thing. So that's another thing that we do. So another thing that we've also initiated was, this is Sean Ward, a friend of mine, and 2 of his children are disabled. And Sean's a triathlete, and Sean said to me one day over coffee, I really wish there was something my kids could do, because there's not really any kind of stuff for disabled children. So over this coffee, I just said, well, why don't we do something? So we said, okay, what are we going to do? So we decided to do a disabled children's triathlon, and we called it the Big Moose Super Tri, because supposedly I know a little bit about marketing. I don't know if I do or not, but we'll see. So we called it the Big Moose Super Tri for super kids, and what we did was we got 50 children of all disabilities, bless you, and what we did was we got 50 volunteers. So every one of these volunteers had a disabled child that they'd never met before, and we paired them up. And with their parents, they went through the triathlon course that we had at Maindy Sports Centre. So they swam, they went on the track, and it was a pretty phenomenal day. I absolutely loved it. So we copied it and did it again. The smiles on the kids' faces were absolutely amazing, absolutely loved it. So we did it again and called it, see, I'm amazing at marketing. We called it Big Moose Super Tri 2, and we put antlers on it. Have a guess when it was? Yeah? Okay, Christmas. So lovely time. We got a big Father Christmas in. He was big. Brought his own throne. Absolutely phenomenal. Did it at Uwick up at King Coyd there. And this time we had 100 children and we had 150 volunteers because people like it. So if you want to come to Super Tri, we might call it Super Tri 3, I think. But if you'd like to come, have a look at our website. So this guy is a guy called Tim Medvets, who I met whilst on Everest, and he's got a charity in the States, and what they do is they have 300 spin bikes, and they put them out once a year on Santa Monica Pier, and he gets people to get sponsored to go on them, and I love the model, so I thought I want to copy this. So I thought the best way to do that is to take a 3-day trip out to Santa Monica, which was business. So I went out to Santa Monica, watched this event, which was amazing, and he raised just over $250,000 in a 3-hour spin bike session. So we're going to do that eventually. So this is me. So there and there are my 2 false hips. Because I played lots of ice hockey, I wore them out basically. So when I went and had my 2 hips done, my surgeon said to me, the only thing I would say you can't do is run marathons. So I was like, okay, I've never run a marathon in my life. I probably never want to. I'd run a half marathon, but I came back from Everest skint, basically, because I put all my money into paying for going to Everest. So I came back and thought, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford to do another mountain, so I'm going to start running. But I've been told not to do marathons, so I decided to do an ultra marathon, which is a bit longer than a marathon, but that wasn't on the radar. So I ran 100K, which I'd never done anything more than 30 miles before. So I ran 100K and kind of really got into running. So what happened was, this is Donna, who is Emily's mum. I'm going to have a sip of water at this point because I need it. So Donna is Emily's mum. And Donna said to me, and we got close because of our work with TCT, and Donna said, I really want to do something for me because I'm spending so much time doing stuff for my kids, and my daughter's got cancer. I just would love to do something to give me a bit of a break. So I said, well, why don't you start running? So I worked with her, and we got a group of girls and boys, and we ran the Cardiff Half. And Donna ran it. She'd never run a step in her life before, but I ran with her. We did it in a really slow time, but who cares? And I ran with her, and seeing her cross the line was absolutely brilliant. So that gave her a bit of a purpose. And all these guys just decided to do... I wasn't really concerned about raising money for Big Moose, so these guys raised money for one of their own charities, which was brilliant, fantastic. We had about 30 people. So then, unfortunately, in March of last year, Emily passed away, which was aged 18, which was pretty horrible, if I'm really honest, for everybody involved. And we decided, because we wanted to do something, we decided to give her mum something and try and give her mum something. So we ran the last Cardiff Half, and we said that we would be running for Emily. So we pushed it out on social media and said we want to get a team of people. And actually what we did was we ended up getting 104 runners. They're not all here, but we had 104 runners, all wearing Big Moose Running for Emily shirts, which I know for a fact, because I've talked to Donna about it, just really helped her grieve. So we ended up raising 30 grand off of that to go into Emily's charity that she'd been fundraising for. So it was a pretty cool experience. So after I did my ultra marathon, I thought, you know what, I'm quite enjoying this running lark. So I decided, and there is a reason for telling you this is not me just showing off, but because I want to impact people like yourselves, and I want people to be influenced and to actually be inspired to go off and do stuff. And this is actually an example. It's not, as I say, it's not just me showing off. I can run a bit. It's actually, there's a bit in the story at the end which is important on how potentially we can inspire people. So I ran the Marathon des Sables, which was 156 miles across the horrible desert. That's a really nasty picture of what my feet were like at the end of it. A great experience. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, it was a bit of a messy one. So these are four of the guys and myself who were in my tent. So we've got Nick Butter there, and we've got Kev, who we call Kevlar, who's got prostate cancer and has got a year and a half to live. So these guys were in our tent, and we had another 2 or 3 as well. And I will explain, the story will become a bit more evident at the end of this. Because we've been doing all this kind of stuff, we got a letter through from David Cameron and Number 10, just saying we'd been picked out as a point of light, which I'd never heard of. But it's quite a nice thing. I'm not really into this kind of stuff, but my wife said to me, you've got to do this. You've got to show it as a slide as well, because people will appreciate that you're being appreciated. And it was a pretty good experience, and what's come out of it is that by going to Number 10, we got a nice little soundbite or word bite from David Cameron, which is nice that he said about us. But also what's gone on from that is I had a meeting with the Cabinet Office whilst in Number 10, which I have to say was a pretty cool place. I really enjoyed that experience. That was very cool. But what was better than that was that we actually are now engaging with the Cabinet Office, and they're talking to us about mission-led businesses, which somebody referred to earlier. But I'm very much about B Corp and mission-led businesses, and the government are as well. So it's pretty cool that, you know, an individual in Cardiff who just has a little bit of a dream and starts doing some stuff can hopefully try and affect the world. So, what's next? I saw a saying recently, which I really liked reading, and I thought I'd share it with you. So, only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far they can go. Now, for me, that works in lots of different places, and I enjoy pushing myself, and I want to achieve my potential. And what I want to encourage you guys to do is to push yourself and achieve your potential. Because I'm sure we've all heard the rocking chair story where you're at the end of your life, you're on the rocking chair, what things would you want to have done and what things did you do? It's always the things that you didn't do and you look back and go, I really wish I had. So since my buddy died 10 years ago, I've really pushed myself to do stuff. And this is one of the things that I would never have thought that I would actually be doing. Standing up on a stage is really not my idea of fun, and it's quite nerve-wracking for me. But a friend of mine said to me once, come and speak to me, and you're there. And no, sorry, your goal is there, and you're here. And if you do come and speak to me, for me, at a show, will you be closer or further away? And I went, yeah, I'm going to be closer, aren't I, to my goal, really. So I have to do this kind of stuff, which is really cool. So in 2017, we are continuing to dream big, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. So this is Jody. We're down at the Feed the Homeless this evening, and this is Jody. I haven't seen Jody for 3 months, I don't think. So, Jody, tell me kind of the way you were last time we saw you.
Right. The place I was at when I last seen you, I lost my children, went back to heroin and crack. I was in and out of jail, stealing, doing anything I can for the drugs. When I met you, I'd come out of jail and I was ready to turn my life around and change. At that point, I was given help by the courts and probation who all jumped on top of me. I was at the place that I was ready to turn around. From then to now, I'm at a place, I'm going back into college. I've been clean for the last month, totally. You know, I was sort of clean 3 months ago, but I am 100% clean. I've given my first 4 negatives in court. And yeah, I'm very much into baking, and I'm looking for a job along them lines.
We're going to find you one.
We're going to find me one. Yeah, that's awesome. What we're going to do.
Thank you so much.
So
what we'll do is we'll follow your journey.
Yeah.
And we'll take a little bit more video when you're in work.
Yeah.
And we've got it rocking.
Just watch me progress.
Thank you so much, Jody.
Yeah,
Look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yeah.
So that's Jody. I don't know if many of you have met heroin addicts. I'd never met a heroin addict before. But Jody's ready. In my opinion, she's ready to make the change and to move and get her kids back. So I felt, from my own personal perspective, going down and feeding the homeless people and getting them haircuts, and we got fruit being brought down and donated by people. We had all these cool kind of things happening. But it wasn't really getting anybody off the street. If that person there was sleeping rough, and we fed them with a cup of tea and coffee and some soup and some sandwiches, it's great. But then I went home to my centrally heated home, and yeah, great. Made me feel humble for a while, but it wasn't really doing enough. So I've decided that what I need to do is give them a hand up and not a hand out. So what we've decided to do is get a coffee shop, because we want to serve the world. And what we're going to do, we've done lots of research. We're not just winging it. I don't wing things. I prepare well and we do stuff. And we're actually in the process of signing an agreement. Well, I actually got a solicitor, a lawyer, on Friday to commit to do the legals for us on the exchange of contracts on a premises just off of Queen Street for nothing. Because I want to do this whole project for nothing. Because I want people to love the project, love what we're doing, and donate their time and their money and their effort. So we've got a coffee shop that we're going to call Big Moose Coffee Co. We're going to base it on a model that's working out of London, where Tiffany, my actress daughter, works when she's not acting. A place called House of St Barnabas in Soho, which is a charity, and they have a training academy on the 4th floor of it. And they're working with us, and they're giving us their training academy. And we're going to basically employ people. We're going to make money, so we're going to be a mission-led business. So we're going to make profit, but the profit is going to be reinvested into Big Moose projects. And we're going to get people like Jody off the street. We're going to get them. We're going to tell the story, and we want people to invest in that. So that's what we're doing, which is a huge project for us, and it scares the bejesus out of me because I've never done anything like working in a coffee shop in my life. But we've done lots of research. We've got lots of great people and lots of experts around us. So that's one of those things. This is the thing that I'm doing now. As in 29th of March, I've decided to go back to Everest. I've got to have a go. I've got to get on the mountain and have a go. So I've been training really, really hard. And this is the bit where the potential investment might come in, because I leave on the 29th of March, fingers crossed, because what's happened for me is that I had all my investment in place. And then somebody, or 2 people actually, basically have bailed on me. So I've got, well, it's probably about 22 grand now. It was 25 grand. But I'm about 22 grand short. And I've got 40 days to find it, or else I'm not going. So I'm doing everything I can, i.e. standing up here, and John is looking after me and introducing me to you guys. So if anybody wants me to take a flag to the top of Everest, or get branding, or I'll do anything as long as it's legal and moral. But rather than going back and fundraising this time, what I've decided to do that I can make a bigger impact on things is that I can tell my story to children. So what I've been doing is going around to schools. And on this picture, can anybody see anything strange with any of the kids? Because I love this picture. Can anybody see anything? The kid on the right, all right? So here's the deal. This is what I'm doing. I'm going around to schools, and I'm telling them about Everest and engaging with them. We're having a fantastic time. We've presented to over 2,000 kids, and it's been really, really rewarding for me, hopefully for them as well. They're going to engage, and they're going to come along on the journey. We're going to send videos back and pictures, and then hopefully once I've summited, I'm going to come back and go and see all the kids afterwards and tell them the story. Inspiring them, telling them to follow their dreams, and telling them never, ever, ever to give up in what they want to do in life. So we've also got a load of kit. So I've got my down suit and my helmet and all my eye sacks and all this stuff. And it was only recently that we were looking at this picture. It was like, that little sod there has nicked my goggles. So we've had to get the goggles back from the school. But this little boy is standing there. I just thought it was quite amusing. You lot obviously didn't. So I'm due to leave on the 29th of March. And in conclusion, I hope you have enjoyed my story. And I would love to answer any questions. But hold on a sec. There is one last thing. I did mention about this slide here. And at the beginning, I was talking about inspiring people. And this guy here, Nick Butter, who slept in our tent, when we got off the plane, I'd never met him before. I never knew any of these people before. But when we got off the plane in Morocco, and then what we did was we got some buses out to the Sahara. And I sat next to Nick, and he asked me what I did. And I told him about Big Moose. And I told him about my dream to build a non-profit that can go anywhere and everywhere and just help people and touch people. And he said, I want to do something like that. I said, well, do it. So he said, yeah, I'm in banking in London. He's only about 25. And he's in banking. He's got this really cool job. And he earns lots of money. And we didn't really think anything more of it. And then a week and a half ago, he came to my house. He said, we need to have a catch-up and talk about Everest and stuff. And I went, okay, cool. So he came to my house. And he said, oh, and we went through Everest stuff. And then he said to me, I've got some news for you. So I said, okay, what's your news, man? So he said, I'm quitting my job. I went, oh, okay. And straight away I was like, oh, what's he doing? What's he doing? So what he's decided to do is to live his life how he wants to live it. And he's going to run the world. I didn't know this, but there's 196 countries in the world. Did anybody know that? So there's 196 countries in the world. Nick, my mate, is going to run a marathon in every one of those countries. And he's going to raise money, and he wants to raise £250,000. And he's got it mapped out beautifully. And he wants to raise £250,000 for prostate cancer for our boy Kevlar. And he was telling me this story. And he went, it's all because of you. And I went, why is it all because of me? And he said, because of that conversation that we had on the coach, he said, impacted me so much. He said, I've got to do it. I've just got to follow my dream. And I just went, that's pretty amazing. So I hadn't really thought about it until I was putting the slideshow together. But I thought, you know what? I think that's quite powerful. So I just wanted to share it with you and then see if you've got any questions.